Today's April 22nd. Today's quote is entitled Apparent Favor. Sometimes it may appear that an offensive devotee is still being shown favor by the Lord because he is able externally to continue sadhana without apparent difficulty. But the Lord is always displeased with anyone who is antagonistic to his devotees. The reason I included this is because sometimes we find a devotee who is engaged in chanting, who has good sadhana, but appears to be extremely offensive in his behavior towards Vaishnavas, especially towards respected Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas. And the question naturally arises, if this devotee is offending devotees, how is it that he's still going on chanting? Now it's interesting, Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings this point up, and he said sometimes you'll see such devotees chanting 100 rounds a day. But then he said, but their chanting doesn't move Krishna, doesn't please Krishna at all. So it's an interesting phenomena that somehow or other, someone who's offending Krishna, we think they would fall down, they would fall away from Krishna consciousness. But they're going on, they're doing sadhana. Externally, it appears that they're very Krishna conscious. But their actions are not pleasing to Krishna. And if our actions are not pleasing to Krishna, there's really no bhakti there. Meaning of bhakti is that our actions will please Krishna. So I just wanted to include this because sometimes it's a bit confusing that we see somebody and they're extremely offensive, but they're going on in Krishna consciousness. And how is that possible that they're going on? And what do we say here? Krishna is always displeased with those who are antagonistic to devotees. In fact, Mahaprabhu once said that if an offender is chanting the holy name, his chanting feels like hot burning cinder blocks, burning pieces of wood being thrown on my body. That's his experience. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said there are many people who are dressed as Vaishnavas, but they're actually not Vaishnavas, they're actually envious people in the dress of Vaishnavas. So it's possible that even their envy and their antagonism is somehow empowering them to continue with their sadhana, mixed with some sincerity or some desire to advance, but the mixture is very contaminated. And it comes out in a way that their mentality, their characteristics, their actions are not all Krishna conscious, even though they're doing Krishna conscious activities. So, I'm not telling you this so you can become like Sherlock Holmes and investigate everyone and determine are they actually antagonistic to Krishna or not, but just so that you understand that sometimes when a devotee is offensive, Krishna will allow them externally to continue in devotional service. Even sometimes that devotional service they're doing is fostering their offenses. And because they want to make offenses, Krishna is really facilitating them. And somehow or other, they're attached to chanting Hare Krishna, but it's all namaparad because of the offenses. And Krishna lets them go on because that's what they want to do. But from our perspective, we should understand they're not pleasing Krishna, even though they may be chanting 100 rounds a day. If anyone offends Vaishnavas, they're not pleasing Krishna by their chanting or by their service.